Well, if you're a fan of the Dirty Harry movies, you'll know what this is. This is the Smith and Wesson Model 29 and 44 Magnum. To give you a size comparison, that's a Model 36 on the J-frame. It's a Model 15 on the K-frame. And next to this gun, that little Model 36 just looks tiny. Bring it back out where you can get some ideas on them. The 44 Magnum was brought to us largely through the work of Elmer Keith and many of the other Magnum cartridges. Elmer Keith was really kind of a mountain man of sorts. He was a trapper, a guide, a writer. Worked in Springfield Arsenal at one time. Worked with Julius Hatcher, who wrote Hatcher's Notebook. Elmer Keith fell in love with the in-frame Smith and Wessons because they could handle more power than the Colt single action Army. But he felt the 44 special cartridge was a little bit underloaded and underpowered for his needs. So he started hot rodding it and using a 255 grain cast bullet that now bears his name. It's a semi-wad cutter, big, flat front end, perfect aerodynamics, a crimping groove, and a wide square cut grease groove that's hidden in the casing. These hot rounds they were working with, some lesser quality revolvers couldn't stand the strain. So Mr. Keith recommended they do what they had done with the 38 and 357 Magnum, load it into a longer casing that would prevent it from being chambered in some of these guns that could not handle the pressure. By the time the 44 Magnum came around, people had learned how to heat treat steel to give it greater strength. Smith and Wesson also at this time was probably at their peak, making some of the finest revolvers ever. This particular specimen has a 6-inch barrel. It's made on the end frame. The trigger pull has been polished and tuned. Very slick double action, very sweet light single action. This gun is not my cure-all end-all gun. I'm limited to when I can carry this gun. Generally, it's when I'm hunting, fishing. I could, in theory, take it to a sporting event where I could carry it openly. This is not a concealed carry gun. Adequate for home defense if you were carrying it on some place where it wasn't necessary to conceal it or keep it out of sight, either for legal reasons or to be polite. It's an excellent choice. In North Florida, it's heavy during the summertime. So this is not one of my summer guns. This is one of my fall and winter guns. The great thing about the 44 is this is an invitation to the hand loader. Because of the expense of 44 Special and 44 Magnum, the only way that most people can afford to shoot these things enough to become proficient with them, you're going to have to load for them. Or have a buddy that does. The hand loading also allows me to take a lot of the snap and bite out of this cartridge as compared to factory ammunition. Factory ammunition is typically loaded to a pressure, and hopefully you get the desired velocity. One batch of powder, they buy their powder by the train car loads. So one batch of powder may not be blended the same as another. So you end up with inconsistencies in factory ammunition. Again, why we hand load, particularly when we desire performance and we desire that extra edge and accuracy. My everyday load for this gun is a 210 Remington semi-jacketed hollow point. This is not loaded to max velocities. With the 210 grain bullet, I'm getting about 1350 to 1400 feet a second. And this is a load I'd use every day. Doesn't strain the gun, doesn't beat the shooter up. Fairly pleasant to shoot. Because of the large bore diameter of the 44, it actually measures 429. For a lot of my big game use, shooting deer, shooting pigs, expansion isn't necessary. It's great if you can get it, but you're already putting a 1/2 inch hole through something. What other cartridges hope to get to when they expand. That's where the Elmer Keith bullet comes in. This big flat nose doesn't depend on expansion. It just goes through whatever it hits. I've killed deer with this gun and this Elmer Keith load in excess of 150 yards. I have shot and killed a hog a little bit beyond that, around 175. So this setup is extremely effective for somebody who needs a powerful cartridge but may not be able to take a long gun with them for either legal or convenience reasons. This gun's not the cure-all end-all, but it has its place as a hunting gun, a sporting gun. I wouldn't hesitate 1 second to use it as a home defense gun, occasionally truck gun. It's a big, heavy gun, slick, smooth action. Excellent sights. This one has the adjustable rear and the red ramp front. In a lot of cases, Hollywood has screwed a bunch of things up, but when Clint Eastwood portraying Harry Callahan in the Dirty Harry movies is demonstrating the effectiveness of this gun and cartridge, it's not understated. This can be a very effective gun if you're willing to carry it. circumstances dictate that I don't get to carry it as much as I would like to. It's a big gun. It's an effective gun, and it's pleasant to shoot with the mid-range loads and 44 special loads. I liken this in-frame gun with the special loads basically like me shooting my dad's Smith and Wesson 22 when I was a small boy. Very pleasant, a lot of fun. The advantage I have now is I save my brass, we reload it, we go again, and that just adds one more pleasure to it. The powder that I use for the magnum loads, typically it's 2400. I use some different ones for special loads. H110 some people seem to like. I found it's a little bit hot for cast bullets, but the 2400 just seems about right. That's what Elmer Keith designed the cartridge and the gun around. It still works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is a look at, a very favorite revolver of mine, even though its uses are somewhat limited. Later on,